Hello and welcome to the Matt's Movie Review Saturday Conversation Show, an interview series where I talk to entertainment personalities, content creators, and filmmakers about their work and love of film. Today's guest is Helen Tuck, an accomplished hair and makeup and prosthetics artist who, for the last 15 years, has worked on both independent and major studio productions with credits including Thor, Love and Thunder, Talk to Me, Furiosa, and many more. Helen has now moved into producing through her Moonlight Fox production shingle and also with award-winning boutique production company Deadhouse Films. With two feature films, It Will Find You and Resonance, due for release in 2026. And it's my pleasure to say hello, Helen. Thank you so very much for your time today. And also, congratulations with your move up to producer as part of the core team with Deadhouse Films. It's very exciting stuff, and it's a pleasure to talk to you today.
Thank you. It's a bit of a weird one, jumping from makeup to producing, but maybe more people should do it.
Um, the makeup part of it all, I'm just incredibly fascinated with the creation of different designs and things, especially since, of course, we're both big horror fans as well, and horror films, I'm sure, like the films that I know, the films I grew up with, your American Werewolves and The Thing and so many others feature so many of these things. I'm curious though, with yourself, something that I found in my research, and I'm curious if this is true, that sometimes you'll have sleepovers at friends' place. You watch like tacky horror movies or cool horror movies like Chucky and stuff like that. And while your mates will be kind of freaked out by what's happening on screen, you're kind of more absorbed with what's happening in regards to the creature creations, the makeup design, all that stuff. Is that something that really kind of lit that spark in you as to what I want to do this career?
I think so. Yeah, that's I definitely used to have scary sleepovers with friends, and we watched Poltergeist and Candyman and all of those old films. And I think it definitely created a bit of a love of makeup and effects for me, which was amazing. I didn't really come about figuring out that it could be a career until I was watching things like behind the scenes of Lord of the Rings, though, where they've
Hmm.
got their appendices that show, filmmaking from each different department. And when they went to the prosthetics department and I saw them creating these orcs and these monsters and stuff like that, I was like, oh my God, that was my light bulb moment. That was like, I definitely need to do this as a career.
How do you what are the initial steps in tapping into that passion, into that career? Do you, I don't know, buy a makeup kit or something? Do you experiment on things? Like, what are those first steps for you as a young Helen Tuck to kind of exploring this fascinating world of make believe and bringing these things to life?
Well, so for me, I was in the middle of doing a fine art degree. So I'd always been artistic, loved drawing, painting, that kind of thing. When I decided to make the jump over to makeup, I pretty much left my degree behind me and jumped into doing a makeup diploma. So that's
Hmm.
that's the usual way, at least in Australia, that people tend to start their makeup journeys. They'll do that, and then they start sort of gathering their kit together, which is a long process. And for me, I did my makeup diploma and then did a whole bunch of extra courses in various different things like barbering to help with hairdressing side of things and different hairstyling courses and also like a prosthetics masterclass with Makeup Effects Group. Each little thing just sort of added another notch to my belt and another skill. And yeah, the my entire purpose of leaping into makeup was that I wanted to do film and I wanted to do
Yeah.
special effects.
When it comes to wanting to do film, what are you working on at first? Are you volunteering stuff to do student films, short films, anything like that to kind of get credits on on your resume?
Yeah, definitely. So for me back then, my college, which doesn't actually exist anymore, it's shut down. It didn't have as many work experience opportunities as some of the other bigger ones.
Hmm.
So I sort of had to find those opportunities myself, and I used to ring around every TAFE, every afters, every film school that would be have their students making short films, and I would volunteer as tribute and sort of leap on to whatever I could get my hands on because I sort of knew that the speed at which I wanted to build up my portfolio so that I could actually start working and getting paid jobs, that was completely dependent on how fast I could work myself, basically. So yeah, that was my aim. Work on as much stuff as I could, volunteer for everything, get as many images as I could together, and then just start sort of spreading my name out to people and showing them my work and seeing where I could leap onto things.
When you're watching these movies and you're talking about Lord of the Rings, or when you're younger watching kind of like Poltergeist and Chucky, um, what names are standing out to you when you're watching the credits and you're looking at makeup effects? Was there names that kind of become a regular occurrences on these movies and you say, oh, I should check that guy's stuff out or her stuff out? What names kind of pop out to you that really kind of like inspired you in their work and in how they kind of approach their craft?
Yeah, so I was and like many other makeup effects people, I was really inspired by Dick Smith.
Mm,
Um so he was obviously the makeup artist for The Exorcist. Um so
hmm
he sort of invented the way that prosthetics are done these days, in that they're multi-piece prosthetics as opposed to like one big mask. And it was just it was sort of revolutionary in the sense that the actor could then emote through the makeup much more easily, and it made things a lot more realistic. But you know, I love all the you know, like Rick Baker is an absolute genius in the makeup world. And there's definitely lots of up and coming makeup artists that I also love. And the people that are in Australia, I love working with Odd Studio and Makeup Effects Group, and I think they stand at their own in terms of, you know, the quality of the work that they produce.
Do you remember the first paid gig you got? Because I know for myself, I worked for a year writing for free. And
Mm.
then when I realized I can get paid for this, and then I got like my first pay, very small pay, but it was pay enough at least. I said, wow, that's pretty cool, you know. But yeah, I think it was the first pay gig I got was maybe for filming, I think. Is like I wrote something for him like very kind of early on. It was like very low amount per word or whatever. And this is when it was still a magazine, right? And I remember just thinking, wow, I made it. I can buy my own lunch today. So do you remember what your first pay gig was?
I'm pretty sure my first one was actually a like a little TV commercial. And it was with some people that I'd worked with like you know, a month beforehand on a short film. And so one of them had been given the opportunity to do a TV commercial. And so I think there was a few of us on that were like, "Oh, we're getting paid. This is amazing."
Hmm.
And it was really simple makeup, and it didn't even have any special effects in it. But yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, oh, okay, that this is the moment where I can see how this could actually become a career, and it could be sustainable, which is always a tricky thing, especially in film. I usually warn people that are up and coming that it can take a long time before you've
Yeah.
got enough work going that you can actually pay your rent and stuff like that. So yeah, I remember the moment when I decided that I could quit my part-time job that I had that was helping sustain me. And I was like, it was so scary for me because it was that moment of going, okay, is this work going to keep coming? Is it, you know, is it actually real? Is it actually happening? And yeah, it's a bit of a leap that I think all freelancers at some point take in their lives. And yeah, thankfully paid off. So, which is a good thing.
It is a good thing. It's an excellent thing. Hi guys, Matt here from Matt's Movie Reviews, letting you know that the Matt's Movie Reviews YouTube channel has launched channel membership. This provides exclusive videos and other cool stuff as well for all channel members. It's under one tier, one price, and with that one price you get exclusive reviews. For example, I'll be going through the American Film Institute's top 100 movies. So every week I'll do a new review based on that movie list. You can get exclusive reviews based on your requests. Request a movie review and I will review it for you. You'll also get exclusive content for behind the scenes stuff as well. You also get exclusive interviews that I haven't posted yet as part of my podcast, like older interviews with Academy Award winners and other great filmmakers and actors as well, and a bunch of other cool stuff as well. I hope you can all join up, be part of this great experience I have an offer for you. Support indie content creators, support a movie critic like myself who is trying to make it through the content creator space. Matt's Movie Reviews YouTube channel memberships. Please join and get some great exclusive content. I want to move on to this game I like to play with my guests. It's called Choose Between Two. Gonna throw a couple of names to you. There's themes behind it. There's a reason why they couple together, and you tell me which one you prefer, and we'll just expand on that. Are you ready to play?
Sure.
So the first one might seem kind of odd, but to me, there's correlation between these two films.
Yep.
Okay, and a lot of great makeup design in these two films too. Death Becomes Her
Yeah.
or The Substance.
Okay. I'm gonna have to go with the substance just because that the makeup in that was absolutely brilliant. However, I do love Death Becomes Her. That I grew up watching that movie and I thought it was awesome at the time. But the subs Demi Moore's performance, I think she was a bit robbed of the Oscar for that one.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think any makeup effects people would just be really blown away by some of the work that was in that film.
Next one, the battle of two makeup artists, masters, creature effects masters in horror, especially in the 80s and 90s. On one hand, we got Stan Winston. On the other, we got Rob Bottin of The Thing and in Fame, etc. Which of the two does work did you prefer?
I'm going to go with Stan Winston, but mostly because of the legacy that has kept going with that name, which includes
Mm.
Stan Winston School, which is a really invaluable resource for anyone that's in makeup effects. They've got so many different videos that sort of show you how to do all kinds of different effects and cool things in the industry. So I think Stan Winston, I'm going to go with that one.
Next one, I know the answer for this one, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. CGI or practical effects in a film?
I have to go with practical, obviously. Not that I don't have a really healthy respect for CGI and visual effects. One of the films that I have that's in post-production that I've produced is currently going through the more than 300 visual effects shots, which
That's
is
Resonance, yeah.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a huge amount for a low budget short film, but the work that our visual effects supervisor is doing is absolutely phenomenal. And I think there's a place for both in the industry, but me being in makeup, I have to go with my love of practical effects wherever it's possible.
I had an interview not long ago, and I made a little bit of I said that when it comes to the visual effects and practical kind of thing, what I love the best is when if you have have a cake, for example, the substance of the cake is the practical. The icing, the cherry on top, that other stuff, that's the visual. That's the kind of stuff that I like. Is that kind of like how you like to approach these stuff these days as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't do everything practically. It's not always possible. Like if you've got a creature that can't sort of fit within the form of a human being underneath
Mm,
it, there isn't really another option except to do it practically. But I think that there's things like on Lord of the Rings, just big Lord of the Rings fan. But
yeah.
on that and The Hobbit, the way that they approached Smeagol and Gollum, visual effects terms, started with people like Gino Acevedo over at Weta, actually did a practical paint for that and showed them how to like transformed his skills from a practical makeup artist into teaching them how to paint like a practical makeup artist would using those tools. And I think like that was Gollum in Lord of the Rings still holds up, even though that was, so long ago that was actually happening. But then in The Hobbit, they somehow improved on it. And it was just, it's such a cool character. So I think there's, even when something has to be fully visual, the way that it can be done where, you might sculpt the creature practically and then do a scan of it so that you've got all of the way that the skin moves and everything like that. Like I like that kind of a blend of practical and visual.
Yeah, it's when it comes together like that, it's fantastic. Next one. How do you like watching your movies at home? Physical media or streaming?
Most of what I watch is streaming, I have to say. I have barely any physical media, and I can hear I've got friends of mine that if they heard me say that, they'd probably want to like smack me above the head. But it's mostly just from a like a practical standpoint in the sense that like I don't have enough storage space for all
Mm,
the DVDs that I used to have. And everything is just so available on streaming now. I both love and hate how many streaming platforms I have and how much choice there is because
mm.
sometimes it can leave you sort of, completely frozen going, well, I've got too many things to watch, and so I won't watch any of them and I'll rewatch Seinfeld again or something. But yeah, so I guess, I do really respect people that still keep a physical media copy of everything. And I've still got some box sets of stuff that, you only get all of the extra features on those. But yeah, I'm mostly a streaming media kind of person.
And the last one in this game, you go to the cinema, sit down, what's your snack of choice, popcorn or candy?
Ooh, okay. So I love popcorn, but I'm also a big choc top fan. So
Ah,
a
yes.
boysenberry, old school boysenberry choc top, absolutely love that. But usually speaking, I would get popcorn. I'm more of a savory person than a sweet tooth.
Hmm. I used to be popcorn, but after going to so many screenings and getting popcorn for free, there's something about just trying something more sweet than savory. Yeah, but my
So
my kids, for
fun.
example, if I take my kids, like I don't know if I know you got kids as well. If when I take my boys to the movies and they get free popcorn, it's like manna from heaven. They absolutely love it.
Yeah, yeah, my kids love popcorn as well. Fun fact, one of my first jobs was actually working at Hoyt's.
Ah,
And it used to be one of my favorite things to do. This is ridiculous. And I don't know how I wasn't the size of a whale back when I was in high school, but we used to find different levels of the oil and salt mix to add to the popcorn to make it the
hmm.
best possible flavor of popcorn. And I think we found that like 1.5 times the amount of salt and then 1.5 times the amount of butter was the correct the correct mix to just make it like the most intense, flavorful thing ever. I'm pretty sure I'd have a bite of that these days and then instantly want a glass of water. But back when I was a teenager, I thought it was the best.
When you were putting that concoction together, did you ever have kind of like your people who were going to the cinema compliment or complain about?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That every now and then someone would come back and go, that popcorn just seemed so much better than normal. It seems so much healthier. But usually we'd try and make these batches to sort of have aside for the
Hmm.
staff that were working there rather than sending it out. Otherwise, we'd get in trouble for wasting wasting
Yeah.
too many resources.
Um, I want to get back just talking about when you start like actually like full-time working as a hair and makeup designer. Um, is I saw in an interview you were talking about how when you got someone in your chair and you're doing their makeup, you kind of have to match the energy that they're kind of bringing because once they're starting to put the stuff's being placed on them, whatever it may be, they're kind of going through like this kind of transformation. So they're trying to get into the mood and everything else. Is that how it was always like throughout your kind of career? Like you would like if they want to be if they're playing the character who wants to be chatty, you're going to be chatty. If they're going to be somber, you're just going to just do the
Oh,
work and just do like that as
absolutely.
well.
Yeah, yeah. So it's something that I always say is that the makeup artists are also a bit like the therapists on
Right.
set. So when an actor walks onto the makeup truck, whatever mood, whatever sort of vibe they have as they leave the truck, it has to be one of them that's ready to perform. So it's a weird thing that isn't always talked about, but it is part of our job to help them get into that headspace so that they can perform. Because as most people would know, wasting time on a film set costs a lot of money. And
Hmm.
nobody wants, an actor to walk out and then be like, "Oh no, I need a moment. I need to go back to my trailer. I can't get on set yet." So, it can be something as minor as if the actor wants to run lines or if they want to be really chatty and talk about your weekend or whatever. You have to mirror that energy so that you're not sort of disrupting their process of getting into character. And in the same token, if someone walks on the truck crying because they've had a fight with their boyfriend the night before or whatever, it is part of the job of you getting them ready and turning them into that character to just help them work through that and get sort of into the headspace to be able to be in character. So yeah, it's a definite thing, and you get very good at mirroring the person that's in front of you in this job. So it takes a lot out of you as well. So there's often big makeup days where I've got people in the chair that are a lot of energy or something like that, and I'm having to match that. By the end of the day, I'm sort of a bit of a zombie because I feel like, I'm a shell of a human being, but it's still part of the job that I actually really enjoy, and I think I'm decently good at it.
How soon in your career do you find that is the case? When you first started, did you kind of know that those kind of relationships you will have with the person in your chair, that kind of energy, shared energy, kind of like occurrence would is part of the gig, or is that something that just comes along just through repetition and experience?
I think it just comes along through repetition. It was sort of one of those things that I realized, I'll still be being myself in whatever scenario I am. It's just more of an energy match kind of a thing. But, or sometimes if there's people that start talking about like horoscopes and things like that, internally I'm rolling my eyes, but I'm not going to sit there and go, that's all bullshit, right? I'm going to follow along and be like,
Yeah.
babe, I'm a Capricorn, like, that kind of thing. I think it came with experience. I just started realizing that as I matched the person that was in my chair, everything went more smoothly. And when things don't have hiccups on a film set, everything is calmer, and it's a much better result in the end. So I think it was just one of those things that slowly I started to realize that that was a really needed thing. And the more I talked to other makeup artists, the more they sort of agreed with me and were like, yeah, that's right. That is exactly what happens. You do have to just match the energy of whoever's in your chair.
Another thing that I read you spoke about is kind of like the heinous kind of like hours to go into this kind of work, especially like crew work, whether it be makeup or what have you, sometimes 12, 14, 18 hour kind of days, and the effects that that has once you come off the soundstage or off the lot or what have you. I read there was at one point, like I think you said in 2019, like you found yourself falling asleep at a red light or something like that.
Yeah.
There was another occurrence where I read where someone actually slammed into a pole or something. They fell asleep after a gig and all that. And you were you were amongst a voice of pe you were amongst a voice. Why can't I speak today? You were amongst a chorus of people who were really bringing voice to this. You were saying, look, this is a situation where, we love our job. We know that it's hard and we know we're putting the time, but there's such a thing as, work-life balance here and our health's at stake, mental, physical, all kind of things like that. When does it come to you that you're comfortable in your position in the industry where you can speak out and stuff like that? Because I'd imagine by that time, maybe I think 2019, so that'll be what, 6 years ago, you're probably like what, 9, 10 years into the gig by then. You've done a lot of gigs, you've been around a lot of people, you would have seen a lot of things, and by that time you're like, you know what, fuck this, I'm going to talk about it, and we need to get resolution here.
Yeah, yeah. It was definitely one of those things that I think I haven't ever really feared for my job,
Hmm.
which is maybe I should, maybe I'm like way too overconfident or something, but um it's always come fairly naturally to me to want to speak up and speak out about things. And I think part of the reason is that in my head, if I go, okay, well, if I speak up and say, hey, something's happening here that's unsafe, or, someone's being mistreated or something like that, and the people turn around and go, well, fuck you, then you're off, go, you're fired. Part of me goes, well, who cares? Because I don't want to work for that person anyway.
Hmm.
And I think because I did work with MIA, the union, for a while as one of their organizers, and one of the things that I said must be the reason as to why they decided that I would be a good fit for that is because I'm loud and I complain a lot. But it is in the sense that I don't really have any kind of fear that there isn't more work coming, or that I'm not going to get the next gig or something like that if I speak out against
Hmm.
things that are unsafe. So I think that's been something that I really want to champion, especially for people who do feel worried about their jobs, or worried about speaking up, or are really early on in their careers and they don't want to put a foot wrong. In my mind, there is nothing that is more important than crew safety on set, no matter what position you're in. And when you have, little 20, 22-year-old runners or something like that that are working 14, 15, 16-hour days and they don't have the same stamina that, the old codger grips and that kind of thing have, it's really important that they feel safe enough to be able to say when, it's time to stop driving or to say no when they're being told to just add another hour to their day or something like that. So it's
In
it's something I'm quite passionate about.
And to me, I think it's an incredibly vital part of what a producer does as well, because there's many factors, of course, to being a producer on or showrunner, what have you. You have your logistical, your financial, the artistic, but it also comes down to relationships with people.
Mm,
And emotional intelligence needs to be had there, especially and when you're talking about like crew safety and all that, that's about having people in the best positions to get the best work so that shows up on screen. And I imagine was that kind of like a moving into production, like of course there's a lot of elements in there, but is it also a thing where like you're seeing these things, you are talking about these things, and you're also thinking to yourself, you know, I would like to be in some type of position of power where I can affect these things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's been a really sort of eye-opening thing for me moving into producing, is being able to see things from the other side as well. I think every now and then there's a bit of a misconception amongst crew that, producers don't work the same kind of hours that they do. Trust me, they work more.
Mm,
Um, or that they don't care, or that there's always money that can be found. At least in my experience so far, I feel like I care so much, and there isn't always more money to be found. And it's if it is, it's coming out of my pocket in a sense. But I think it is really important to have more producers come along that have worked as crew and have put in the hours and know exactly what it's like to be driving home at 4 in the morning after a 17-hour day, just
mm,
so that you can start to plan for that in pre-production or even in development, so that you're not trying to film an unfilmable script. You're not trying to make a day that is never going to be made in the amount of hours that there are and stuff like that. And a lot of it is budget issues, and a lot of that comes from the top of the top, like from the studios and from the networks and from the Netflixes and all of that. I've said a couple of times before to people that it seems like, everybody wants Stranger Things on a 90s drama budget these days,
yeah.
and it's just not possible. So, scripts need to be written to the amount of money that they have to film it and that kind of thing. And it's when people expect more than is possible. The problem is that crew, all of us are so passionate about our jobs. We never want anything but perfection up on the screen. So, unfortunately, you can push people way past where they should be pushed just because they want it to be the best possible outcome ever.
Mm,
And I think there's a whole industry shift that needs to happen that will sort of help people realize that they're allowed to push back. They're allowed to say, no, that's not safe, or those hours are too long or whatever. And everybody knows that sometimes you're going to have to go into overtime and you're going to have to just try and get the shot, and it's the last possible chance to do it. But it's the shoots where that happens every day
mm,
that's not fair, and it should be stuff that's worked out long before you're standing on set going, I'm at 16 hours and we've still got two more to go. This is insane.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's an incredibly vital thing. And it was so interesting to read up on this stuff as well because I do speak to a lot of filmmakers, Australian filmmakers as well. And sometimes the things that, and I'm guilty of it as well. Sometimes we just kind of gloss over the effects that it has on people behind the scenes, especially the people who like are in the crew and all that, and the impact that they have on the production, and vice versa, how the production has an impact on them as well. So I think it's incredibly vital that people always continue to remember that. The Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is brought to you by Amazon Prime Video. One of the best on-demand streaming services available, Amazon Prime Video features exclusive Amazon originals as well as popular movies and TV shows. Watch Amazon Prime Video anytime, anywhere. I want to move on to a different game now I like to play.
Yep.
Rapid fire questions. Gonna throw
Sure.
questions to you. Try to get it quick as you can, and then we can talk about it some more after the answer is given. You ready to play?
Sure. I'm
Okay.
nervous.
What is the scariest moment you've seen in a horror movie?
Oh God. Okay, this is a weird one, but I'm going to go back to a movie that's um, the ending isn't scary at all, but the build-up is. So Signs.
Ah,
Um,
all right.
the moment where the alien sort of crosses the camera and it's like it's all shaky footage and stuff like that. That movie was brilliant right up until the moment that they saw the alien in full light and realized
Mm.
that water was what it was allergic to, which is just like the Earth. There's so much water on it. You'd think they'd figure that out before trying to come to the planet. But that moment was sort of a bit of a heart leap kind of thing for me, and not in a small amount because the second I finished watching that film, the power cut out in my house and it was midnight. And so I was like, okay, someone's pulling a prank on me. But yeah, so that's my that.
I love that scene because there's a little bit of humor to it as well. Because Joaquin Phoenix is watching the TV
Yeah,
and the anticipation, and he's watching. I think it's like a Mexican family or something like a birthday party, and
yeah,
he's like, "Vamonos, children, vamonos!" Like move out the way. I'm trying to watch this thing, and then
yeah.
it comes up. It's so yeah, I know that scene. My scariest scene of all time though, and you'll like this because there's creature effects to this as well. The transformation scene of American Werewolf in London.
Oh
That to
yeah,
me
very
is
cool.
up there. Yeah, and of course, there's moments in The Exorcist as well. The next one, what is a great practical effect have you seen in a movie that made you really go, whoa, and like just like and that still sticks with you?
Oh, I'm going to go with a recent one and talk about the substance again.
Mm,
All of the body horror stuff in that was just so phenomenal. So, like the faces in the prosthetics, sort of trying to get out, and yeah,
yeah,
it's just
you're right.
awesome. That
Yeah,
whole film was amazingly shot.
that's a good one. Next one, favorite Australian horror movie?
I'm going to have to say, Talk to Me. I mean, I did work on it, so I might be
No,
slightly
but it's a
biased.
great film.
It's a great film, and working on it was amazingly fun because there were just so many really cool makeups to do. And I have to say, in the middle of it, I didn't know how well it was going to do. I didn't know if it would resonate with the audience, and I didn't know that it was going to be that well put together. So when I actually saw it at the screening that they had at the Ritz, which was like cast and crew and friends and family and all of that kind of thing,
Mm.
I was actually blown away. I was like, I worked on this, I did grueling days on it, but this is so much better than I ever thought it would be. So yeah, that's going to be Talk to Me.
Um,
Followed closely by The Babadook.
Babadook's great as well. I
Mm.
love them both. They were both in my top 10. I put up a top 10 not long ago. So yeah, they're both in there. Last one, and this is the most important one of all, and Enzo will tell you this as well.
Yeah.
Um, Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Okay. Enzo
I already know your answer just by your reaction there. So,
yeah.
but go ahead, go on.
Look, I'm really white. I don't know if you've noticed, but I am whiter than white. So I do love a Hawaiian pizza. I've got to
Hmm.
say, I love pineapple on a supreme as well. Enzo will kill me because obviously he's staunchly Italian, and
Hmm.
pineapple does not belong on pizza. I like fruit with my meat. So what?
That should be the blurb of your like a memoir. It's Helen
Yeah.
Tuck. I like blurb money. Let's move on now. I want to talk about Moonlight Fox Productions. So you foray into producing before Dead House. You have Moonlight Fox, and you did some really cool stuff there. You had part of the Scare Package 2. You did the We're So Dead with Rachel. You did a short film Over the Edge as well. What was that like for you going stepping into the production stuff, the side of things? What was it that you knew, like you like, you know what, I'm gonna take this step into these other part of filmmaking process?
So I'd been told for a few years that I should start producing by people like Rachel Wiggins and by Enzo. Um, I think part of the reason is because from what I can see so far, the most important characteristics that a producer needs to have is that they're a people person, so they can talk to
Hmm.
anybody.
Yes.
They're very, very highly organized and they love a spreadsheet. So all three of those boxes I tick. And I think it might be one of the reasons why, as well, I stepped up into being a head of department in makeup relatively quickly compared to potentially some other people at the same career level. Is being able to handle budgets and organizing a team and scheduling and stuff like that. That all comes fairly naturally to me. So Over the Edge was the first short film that I produced, and I think it was a nerve-wracking experience for me because I'd never done anything like that before. But I also had Rachel Wiggins alongside me as a producer, and Enzo was directing, so was there,
Yep.
anytime we had questions, which was great. And then, yeah, the We're So Dead part of Scare Package too, that was wild. And that definitely threw me in the deep end in terms of I just had no idea how we were going to achieve everything we needed to. We had something like 25 grand to shoot a segment of the feature that had child actors in it, a gun, a cat, a hybrid human cat prosthetic with an animatronic tail, all in the middle of COVID lockdown.
Mm.
So it was one of those things where I still don't quite know how we achieved it, and people all got paid, and we had the right insurances and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, and I think that I was really keen to do more producing, and it just hadn't quite clicked that my career would shift seems like almost entirely into that now. But thankfully, when Enzo came along and was going to shoot Resonance, and because he was directing it, he needed a boots on the ground producer. So asked if I might be keen. And I had another makeup job that was lined up across the same dates. And I remember for half a minute sort of going, oh, well, the makeup job's longer and it's certainly going to pay more than this thing, or at least up front. And yeah, and I sort of just went, actually, what are you doing? You've got enough head of department credits on indie horror films. Just do this different thing and see how it goes. And yeah, so shot two features back to back. And so one's out, that's It Will Find You. It's going to be in cinemas in March, and just played at South by Southwest Sydney, which is awesome. And Resonance is still in post. And then we've got a whole bunch of projects that are coming up, but one's very, very close to being greenlit that's going to shoot in January or February. So yeah, it seems like career's taken a bit of a shift.
And I read as well when it came to the whole Dead House aspect of it. So people who know Dead House, it's in the name itself, genre, horror, sometimes forays into sci-fi, something with cool stuff as well, like conspiracy stuff like Event Zero, which I'm a big fan of. But I read as well that it could be some forays into different things, maybe some comedy, maybe some romance. What's the thought process behind that? What's about trying to kind of spread the wings a little bit genre-wise and try to tap into some different type of stories and such?
Well, I think from Enzo's perspective, he's been the horror guy for most of his career, and I think there's he wants to do a lot more than just that. And for me, I'm only just starting out, so I don't think I've been pigeonholed anywhere yet. But I
Hmm.
like a wide range of films, not just genre films, and I want to make films that I would like to watch. So that includes things like comedy, and it includes some drama and stuff like that. So one thing that we've quite deliberately done is try to have projects on the slate that are more than just horror films, just so that we can be expanding the kinds of films that we do, and people don't just go, oh, let's not make that film with them because they only do horror. And as part of that, because I've got Moonlight Fox Productions, and obviously I'm now also with Dead House, we've actually created um, Fox House Media, which is going to be our non-genre platform.
Okay.
So any of our non-genre films will go through that company.
Um, there's some interesting things going on now in the industry, both globally and locally. Let's just talk about the local stuff right now. The quotas that we have now that the government are really introducing, and a lot of people are kind of really excited for right now. About having quotas on, like, just streaming services, whatever, for Australian productions. When something like that comes up, how much of it is you're seeing a great big opportunity here to kind of really kind of get a be part of this kind of big kind of push for local content? And how much is it, do you think there could be some, I don't know, pushback against genre film? Because it always seems to me that even though genre film in Australia is the thing that usually pushes the Australian film industry, especially globally, America, UK, like when they talk about Aussie films, a lot of times they'll talk about the horrors and stuff like that. But locally, it seems like, especially through like government agencies and stuff and such, we kind of get the shaft a little bit from that. They go for like more kind of prestige kind of films or what have you, which really pisses me off because, number one, it should be in the story and it should be in what comes back from people watching and what people like to watch. So when these things come up, do you think it's still going to be a battle to try to get, even though you are working in non-genre films as well, but let's face it, the bread and butter of Dead House and what you guys done and Enzo have done is these genre things, and it will find you. Is going to be a big marker of a marker that going forward. Resonance is very much a sci-fi kind of film as well, and that. And it's just really interesting to me to see how things are going to go forward, especially in the indie landscape in Australia.
Yeah, I'm really interested as well. I'm sort of optimistic but cautious, I suppose, with the quotas that are coming out. So, I mean, there's going to be so much in the detail that hasn't quite come out yet about
Right.
exactly what that means, exactly how much is going to be Australian content. All of that kind of thing is still sort of a bit TBC. But for me, I just think so many of our funding bodies and a lot of a lot of our streaming platforms, they're just a bit stuck in the past. They're a bit
Mm,
scared to branch out, as which is really odd to me. I think there is being a bit of a shift now in that genres being a lot more accepted, especially since Talk to Me. I mean, it's a very obvious thing now that something that was made on 4.5 million and then made 92 million at the box office globally. That's a smash out hit that most Australian films can't even come close to getting
yeah.
those kinds of box office records. But I think that's helping people um, move towards genre as something that's marketable. But I think it does mean that sort of every man and his dog is now trying to make a horror film because you can
Mm,
make them for fairly cheap. You don't need to have the same kind of A-list cast attached as you might need for, a rom-com or a character drama or something like that. Um, so I think that can be both good and bad. So we might see a slate of a whole bunch of really shitty horror films in the next few years as people start doing that. But honestly, I just really want the screening bodies and the streamers to start taking some more risks because as much as I do love a lot of the Australian programming that is quite safe in the sense that like you've got things like Bump, which is it's great, got comedy moments, it's got drama moments. Like Heartbreak High was a absolute smash out hit, but all of those are the typical things that get funded.
mm,
Whereas, someone wants to make an expansive sci-fi, it's really, really difficult to do that here, especially something that needs more budget than the 5 mil or less. And I think it would be really good if people like Screen Australia and the streamers and that kind of thing actually like took a chance on Aussie filmmakers because there's so many talented people here and we can make a lot more than just like your standard sitcom or your standard, character dramas and stuff like that. Like we have a lot of people that have really big ideas that are really cool that aren't just limited to those. And some of them are genre and some of them are, like crime thrillers and stuff like that. We should just give money to those people.
I always say it all the time. We got, not only do we have great crew film, I
Mm.
mean, it's a reason why people come here to shoot their stuff here, right? Whether it be Queensland or wherever, Melbourne, New South, wherever. But we also got so many great stories we can tell that's like outside of the purview of kind of like this small thing that happened, that they're trying to recycle over and over again. There's so many great, like like for example, I don't know why we haven't got more crime movies in the
Yeah.
Australian cinemas. There are so many cool. I'm just imagine like there was a thing that happened. years ago. There was a bikie thing, where in the Sydney airport there was a rumble between two bikie factions. I was like, that would be a great opening scene for a movie where you just
Hmm.
see some like biker guy come into Sydney airport, Michael Mann style, and just start fighting with another guy, and then that could be the opening of shot of a great. That's something that can happen, but unfortunately it doesn't. I'm hoping though that what's going to happen with you, Helen, and Dead House going forward, and Moonfox and all that stuff is that this is gonna be a thing that's gonna usher and push some things forward. I really do. But
Yeah.
there's a little thing of a thing that scares me is the whole AI thing. And I don't know whether it's something that you guys are on top of as well, because while again, when we talked about before about visual effects and how they can have there's a lot more there's good stuff to it when it's mixed with other stuff. The whole AI thing scares the shit out of me, seriously, when it comes to not only filmmaking, but like my industry as well of writing. I can foresee in a year or two even more layoffs like at online publications and them getting an AI bot to just write their stuff for them because a lot of the stuff's so controlled anyway. They just want, meat and bone stuff. They don't want character. They don't want personality in the writing. And I don't know, it just seems to me that there's risk that something like that could happen in cinema. And I know that a lot of unions and such are trying to stand up against this stuff and all, but still stuff's kind of creeping in, man. And it's a little scary for me. I'm not really happy about it.
Yeah, AI is such a huge thing and it is coming and it's sort of one of those things that we have to learn how to live with it and work with it, I suppose, in some way or other. But I think that, or at least from what I've seen so far, they just can't replace a human story and a human
Mm,
face. And I think that even though, yes, there's going to be AI movies that come out, eventually they're going to be able to mirror, human emotions quite well, I suppose. But I think there will always be an audience for wanting to see real stories made by real people, acted by real people. I really worry about AI for some of the other areas of the media industry, like journalism and things like that. I was talking to someone on a TVC at one point who was like quite a high up journalist at the Financial Review. And he said that it is rife now and that AI could replace several people on his team right
mm,
now. And that kind of a thing is quite scary because it is such a specialized field. And I think that, anybody that's a writer should be worried about that kind of thing because now it's really easy to just plug into Chat GPT, write me a rom-com about blah blah blah. And it'll spit something out. Like the problem is that it's spitting out copies of work that already exists.
right.
So this is where I think that people who have original ideas and people who really know how to craft a story and that kind of thing, and it's not just regurgitating what else is out there, they're the films that I'm going to want to watch.
Mm,
Whereas I feel like in some ways, some of the really typical stock standard, like your standard superhero movies, your Marvels and your stuff like that, I feel like even now someone could probably AI generate one of those scripts and it would have people go and see it at the movies.
right.
Um, so it is important, I think, that unions and things like that are trying to protect the industry because it is a scary world. But so far, everything that I've seen that's actually AI generated in terms of the imagery, it's still so janky. There's so much wrong with it. It sort of gives you goosebumps at the back of your neck that something's not right about the faces and the hands and the way that people speak to each other. So
Mm.
I'm quietly hopeful that it doesn't completely destroy the industry and that forever there will be an audience for people who actually want to see real humans on screen.
Yeah, and I think it's also it's really interesting how there's the innovation in the technology, but there will never be innovation in the soul, in the spirit. That's
Yeah,
something that's unique to a person,
yeah.
and in told in the stories. And yeah, I can't wait to see what you do with Dead House moving forward. I didn't get a chance to watch It Will Find You at South by Southwest, but I eagerly anticipate watching that. And Resonance as well sounds
Mm.
fascinating as well. It's
Yeah.
going to be really fascinating seeing Enzo kind of like go down that kind of come considering what the tunnel was and things like that, and now going like down this other road in this story with the whole like de-aging aspects and all other stuff in there as well. It's gonna be interesting to see what comes of that.
Yeah, that's something that it couldn't even have been possible 5, 10 years ago on the kind of
Mm,
budget level that we have, that level of visual effects would be possible for us. So that's quite exciting, is being able to do something that is a bit more expansive, that's been really carefully shot on quite a low budget. It's really cool. So I think that moving forward, stuff like sci-fis or things that need visual effects and things like that, it's just becoming faster. All of the tools are becoming so much faster that it's all being within reach for indie filmmakers, which is exciting.
sounds very exciting. For everyone out there listening, I'm going to have in the show notes links to the Dead House website, to Helen's website, to Moonfox Productions as well. So check it all there. I'll put a link in there for the trailer for It Will Find You as well. And mark your calendars, March. We're looking at March for a release date
March.
for that.
Very
Awesome.
exciting.
And yeah, very exciting. And the reports out of South by Southwest is really, really strong. And we're in a renaissance right now, I think, in horror filmmaking in Australia. We really are. And it comes down to like people like yourself, Ellen, that are really putting in the work and putting in the passion behind it. So thank you for your time today, and it'll be a joy to talk to you again in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been great.
Thank you for watching the Matt's Movie Reviews channel. Please subscribe for more reviews, podcast interviews, and exclusive content.